Welcome to 12 Page Investigative.
Shadows where the truth hides deep. Echoes of the lost and the secrets they keep. Cold cases burn in the back of your mind. We dig through the dark, one clue at a time. This ain't fiction, this is blood, this is truth. 12 Cage investigative, justice uncaged. We ask the questions they're too scared to say, shining a light where the guilty pray. From killers to whispers, we won't look away.
All right. Excuse me. All right. Welcome to my channel. My name is 12 Gauge Investigative. Thank you so much for being here. Tonight, I'm going to take this into a different direction. You know, we've been talking Idaho for a little bit now, but I want to take this into a different direction. So, how many of you remember the Travis Scott Astroworld 2021 concert? There was a lot of fatalities that night. And we're going to dive into the concert and see exactly firsthand knowledge from people that possibly attended and individuals that have stories to tell. There is a Netflix series that you can watch, which is excellent. But if you've ever been a concert goer, which I go to concerts all the time, as you can tell in some of my videos that I have concert footage, you know, one of the worst feelings in the world is to be toward the front and feel like that whole wave of people is crushing in on you. You can't breathe. You can't, you're trying to hold the people back, but you're not strong enough to. Well, when I was watching this documentary, it was stating that most of the fatalities or most of the issues that happened that night were due to so many people being let in one side of the barriers. So that in itself was unsafe. But like I said, if you've ever been to a concert, you understand it's pretty much taking your life in your hands because you just never know what's going to happen. What's going to happen while you're at the concert? Are you going to get dehydrated? Are you going to, are people going to get too forceful and start pushing? I mean, because when you have a lot of people around you like that, it's hard to control anything. You almost get caught up in the reverence of everything that's going around. So let's take a look back and let's talk about Astroworld 2021. I'd like to take this in a different direction than most of the stuff that's going on because I've talked about it already. So here we go. Hope you enjoy it.
We're here just basically for Travis Scott, man.
Travis Scott, baby! Woo!
I've been listening to Travis Scott since third grade. He's one of my favorite artists.
He definitely wants to see Travis Scott tonight.
We're all young here. Everybody wants to be here for the experience. This is Houston, Texas. We love being celebrated.
It's fun. I'm excited. I want to be in mosh pits. It's gonna be fun. I like a lot of people.
It was crazy. Like adrenaline started pumping.
I mean, look at all those people right there. And you're just a minute fraction of matter at that point. I mean, seriously. That crowd starts going forward or it starts pushing against everybody, you can't stop it. This crowd starts pushing or swaying, you can't stop it. You're at the mercy of the crowd, and it's unfortunate that this happened.
I mean, like, this is a big event right now, you know what I'm saying? So, like, people are going to try and bust through the fence.
And I believe that I heard that 50,000 tickets were sold to this event. But of course, just like you said, people who didn't buy tickets and were unaccounted for were busting down the barriers, running through just to get in the show. I mean, how are you gonna regulate that? You can't.
Hello, my name's Aiden, and God saved my life at Astroworld 2021. I wanted to be able to create some memories with my girlfriend who had never been to a concert.
That's my first festival ever. I've been to concerts, but on a big scale, it has been my first festival. I was just excited.
I was pretty excited. It was gonna be my first Astroworld with my roommate.
Astroworld was kind of like the first concert type place I've been to.
I've been to past concerts, past festivals. They're really intense.
I'm familiar with how festivals are done and stuff like that, but having one in my hometown at NRG Park was something I was really looking forward to.
He really supports Houston.
And you know what's scary is even though people died at this event, I'm sure if he came back the next year, people would still go. It wouldn't deter them whatsoever, and I don't blame them if it wouldn't. Because most people enjoy live music. They enjoy the atmosphere. They enjoy the lights. They enjoy all the energy. It's an awesome time. But you never think about the dangers until something like this happens.
I like that he's homegrown and he actually cares about the city a little bit.
But therefore I, Sylvester Turner, Mayor of the City of Houston, hereby proudly proclaim November 18, 2018 as Astroworld Day Travis Scott Day in the City of Houston. Yes, sir, man!
A lot of people do love him because he loves Houston so much, and he based an album off Astroworld, which is in Houston. And
just being a Houston native, I think Astroworld, for many here, has a special place in their heart. I remember going there with my family. I still remember the rides. I still remember them by name. So Astroworld has a special place for so many people. To see it associated with the festival was very nice.
Astroworld, I think for generations has always been associated with memories. Whether it's an amusement park or a concert, or the rodeo happening on that, that place is always associated with memories. I think the intention was to create something like that with an event like this, and that's why there was so much excitement about it.
And you also have to remember that this happened right after all the lockdowns, all the things that the government was locking down. We were stuck indoors, unable to go out and do anything. So once everything was lifted, an event like this comes to your town, you're going to be all about it, right? Or am I wrong? You're going to be all about it. If you enjoy this type of music or any type of music that they say, oh, so-and-so is coming, it's all about enjoying yourself.
It seemed fine. We got in through the gates. We saw the big stage, his stage, which was almost like a mountain.
We were just getting amped up. We were playing artists that we knew were going to be there. And we just remember looking around and being like, whoa, like a lot of people. Like we just seen like basically like a swarm of different people coming from all angles to get ready to go inside that show.
I mean, even 30,000, that's a small town. Going to one event, Rondi, that's a small town. And that's a lot of people packed into one area. You know what I mean? I don't know how they do it day in, day out when they do these concerts. But it's a good thing that not more people have been affected like this.
Kind of chaotic. We were standing in a line to get in to the gates, and from a distance, but kind of close, we kind of saw people trying to rush the gates as well.
Of course, you see a lot of people running throughout the sides of the roads. So they were the ones that were trying to jump in over the gates.
I knew like this is gonna be chaotic. Like these kids don't know how to act.
Keep in mind, this was at 11 in the morning.
And everybody just stormed in, and it was just crazy to see how they didn't care about nothing or no one or anything. They trampled over people. They took down the metal detectors. It was just total destruction.
And really, how can you get control of that? I mean, you can have your people, but you see how quickly all that rush of people came through there? You're not stopping them.
There was cops with horses just lined up, you know, ready, I guess, prepared for what's to come, because they know how these kids get.
This has happened before. I've 100% heard people breaking the gates down, jumping through and stuff like that. And it's something that I feel like, you know, if you were prepped for it, maybe you would have had extra units out there. I mean, there was no reason I felt like for one horseback unit to be bouncing around, trying to cover ground here and there.
It was very clear that by...
Yes, we're live. And that does look like a mob just overrunning all the barriers, all the metal detectors. So you don't know what got into that event that night.
What was happening with the folks rushing in through the gates several times throughout that day, that HPD could really do nothing but try to minimize that as much as possible.
And it was early in the morning and they were already doing this. I mean, Travis didn't take stage probably till almost 11, 10 hours later.
I actually asked one of the HPD officers there if they had ever thought about canceling the event because of this issue with crowd control. He told me that they didn't have that capability, that was up to the people that put on the show.
I left there with a very bad feeling. You know, I told my reporter Barajas at the time, it just doesn't feel right. You know, there's too many red flags.
So whenever you walked in the gate, as soon as you walked straight, the merch line was on the side. And then if you kept walking straight, the first stage was on the left side. And then of course the food trucks and all of that kept going down. And then the main stage, which Travis Scott performed, was on the left side as well. So the first thing that we went to was the merch line.
And we were about to go next, and they were like, that's it. Like, no, we're not selling merch to y'all anymore today. Like, they literally had to stop the whole thing because people didn't know how to act.
People were already jumping, trying to get over and grab shirts. And I was told even registers from one of the officers.
The crowd actually got crazy hectic was when Don Toliver came.
Don Toliver.
And it was really, really bad.
I was thinking there wasn't a lot of security around.
There really was just that super heightened sense of chaos. And I really, really experienced it during that Don Toliver set.
That was probably the first sign that it was going to be a pretty upbeat, rowdy day.
That's off the bat, though.
That's off the bat. I think that was about 3 p.m.
You know, I mean, this is a concert. It could happen in any event. It could happen at a baseball game. It could happen at a football game. It could happen anywhere where there's a large amount of people. Because for whatever reason, people don't follow rules these days. As you saw, they were storming through the gates. They were storming through the metal detectors. But really, are the people at fault, or are the people that put on the show at fault? Because I mean, just what you just heard, people were jumping over the merchandise counter, grabbing merchandise. I mean, that's ridiculous, man. That is ridiculous.
And then after that, it was the main event, which was Travis Scott.
I went with my friends who wanted to be closer to Travis Scott.
So I did wait at the front of the rail. I was there sitting down for hours until 9 p.m. when he came out.
I was concerned for a lot of people because there was a lot of kids there. And these kids don't know what they're up against. They don't know what they're about to see or about to go through, because those concerts are very intense.
I remember there was two sides, left and right. There was a barricade in the middle, dividing them. People were throwing stuff at the other side, just yelling at them. There was a few fights, but that's normal from festivals. People are drunk and just doing stupid things.
You can kind of feel the intensity starting to build. He's got the big clock on the screen counting down, and the next thing you know, it hits 0. You just feel bass, and as the beat starts to build.
When things started getting out of hand, I mean, it was right away.
And everybody just starts jumping, they're going crazy.
I just got a boost of energy. It was a good experience for a few minutes.
Everybody's pushing to see Travis Scott.
Everyone just starts getting squeezed up a little bit, tighter.
My ribs are getting bruised.
Which doesn't make sense. Why are you pushing to get closer? I mean, come on. You're close enough. Why are you pushing to get closer? Like he's saying, his ribs start getting crushed. You start not being able to breathe. You turn sideways. And God forbid you're there with a date that's smaller in stature. I've seen petite women get knocked down, trampled on, and nobody even stopped to help them. There's me and this other guy were around this one girl, and we're making a hole where she could at least get herself up and breathe, because everybody was just running over her at this event. Not this one, but at another concert. And it was just terrible.
Me and my friend fell to the ground.
I just felt like I had to escape.
I'm being crushed in the front, and there's no way I can breathe.
I kind of had to put my arms or my hands down because from stopping myself from hitting the barricade the whole time.
And then that's whenever I felt like I wanted to freak out, but I had my girlfriend there with me, and she's never been to a concert, so she's looking at me like, is this normal?
When that moment started to change, when I heard a bunch of people screaming, the screaming was pretty concerning.
And then I kind of gave in. I started screaming for help.
You couldn't move. It's like once you were up there, you had no choice but to wait till the concert was over to get out of there.
I was just trying to help people out. People were trampling on each other, stepping on each other.
If you wanted to get out, you were going to have to really fight your way through.
At one point, when I really got serious was when this one girl screamed, somebody's going to die.
I mean, he did stop the concert for a second, but it kept going. Right here, you're going to see a person completely limp. I don't know if this is the video, but it might be.
As I mentioned, 90210 was the first time he actually stopped it. He was up on it was a rising platform. He got up there and he was singing, and eventually he said, hold on, stop the show. Made sure the person was all right.
Somebody help him. Somebody pass him over here. Somebody pass him over here. Hold on, don't touch him.
So he did stop the concert for probably 5 minutes, but he stopped and everybody turned around, and behind me was like a golf cart, kind of like with like ambulance lights on it, and it was just passing in the middle of the crowd, like, and everybody was just like, what's going on? I know I've seen some people like say like move, like let them get through, but then I've seen some kids like jumping on it, like messing with it or like taking it as a joke, you know, like they weren't really taking it seriously.
Stop. 2 hands up. Y'all 2 hands up. Y'all know what y'all can do. Chase me. Let's go.
And that's the society we live in today, which is unfortunate. People don't take things seriously, like she just said. Kids were jumping on the freaking ambulance that was there to help somebody, and they were messing with it. They weren't trying to help other people, but there was other young people. That Aiden kid was one of them that was trying to get help, and another girl. Yeah, can you imagine getting trampled? Rusted Root used to walk off the stage when people body surfed. Yeah. I mean, I've been at concerts where it's been wild. I don't like getting toward the front. And the older that I've gotten, I prefer the venues with seats. I don't prefer these standing up ones because that's when you set yourself up for problems.
I personally didn't find myself having trouble breathing, but there was a point in time where I fell down. It was very unorganized. It was very rowdy. It's a tough time for sure.
It says everyone interviewed for this documentary experienced the concert from different locations. Aiden Cruz experienced the concert in the front, left quadrant, directly in front of the stage. This is the section that had the most fatalities. It says all deaths were attributed to compression asphyxia, which occurs when an external force limits the ability of the chest to expand and cuts off a person's oxygen.
There was people trying to figure out how we can get everyone to, stop squeezing each other or get oxygen. And I felt like some of the people's ideas was to just get on a knee, and then that wave comes, and like those first people that went down, the wave comes and pushes me on my back. And it was like I don't know, I guess like a falling pit. And then I just remember just like trying to see if anyone would look to get out, to help me get out. And everyone was like doing their best to get out from the circle. But eventually everyone just fell on top of my body. Definitely right then and there, I was like, I'm going to pass out or probably pass away. And so I accepted my death. And then I learned in church, is to...
I mean, we've never been taught what to do in a situation like that. I don't know if any of you in the chat have ever been experienced coping skills, how to deal with a mass trampling or whatever. I wouldn't know what to do. I mean, do you just crawl up and protect your chest? I mean, what do you do? Don't let yourself get on your back? I mean, it's a scary experience to think about, nonetheless.
Repent and pray to God. It was just like a miracle the way that I was able to get like cold air after that person was able to move off of my head.
Truly, who do you believe saved you at that moment?
God, for sure. God, there's no other explanation in my mind. Like, that was all God.
Brianna Rodriguez attended the Astroworld Festival with Aiden Cruz. She was 16 years old. Brianna was a junior at Heights High School in Houston, where she was a member of the school's award-winning dance team and its band. 16 years old. Hello, Kim.
I love y'all so much. I can't thank y'all enough. I owe y'all forever. Everybody, I love y'all. Thank you, home state. Good night!
So the concert with Travis and Drake abruptly cut short.
We left the show. It was chaos again.
There was no signal here, and my phone was dead.
On the way out, I saw a lot of lights, and I kind of peeked through looking, and I probably saw like 8 or 9 ambulances. The street was filled with them.
I think we got home like at 12, and then my dad was like, look at the news, like somebody's dead.
Sorry. I was just in shock because I could not believe this happened.
I woke up excited, and I immediately, when I found all that out, my heart sunk to my stomach.
None of us really realized anything had happened until the next morning at like 6 or 7. I received a call from my older sister. I was like, why is she calling me at 6 a.m.? She knows I'm going to a music festival. I'm thinking on the phone, okay, who died? That she's calling me, like what emergency?
Well, we've been talking, Kim, about positioning yourself not to be toward the front, kind of toward the middle or toward the back. Because if you're closest to the front, that's where all the wave ends up pushing that force of nature. Just be careful. Just be careful. Be careful. I've been to a lot of concerts myself, and it's scary when it starts getting like that because you can't breathe. It's like you would think that you could breathe with this amount of oxygen, but it's like the whole world just caves in on you, and you're struggling to breathe because there's no air anywhere because everybody's taking it.
Happen. So she picks up I answered the phone and her voice is super shaky and she's like, hello. And I'm really confused on why she's calling me. So I'm like, hello. And she was like, 7 people died last night. Are you okay?
Tragedy at the Travis Scott Astroworld Festival. At least 8 people we know were killed at last night's concert.
There was information out on social media before we got anything from the police, the fire department.
It was going to be my first day on air. Just started. Got the call that, hey, something went down at Astroworld Festival. A number of people are dead. We don't know yet. We just need you to head there immediately.
Well, be careful, Kim. You can't ever live in fear. Sometimes we got to do what we got to do in order to enjoy ourselves. But just be careful. Just be mindful and careful. That's what I'm saying. There's no protocol to teach anybody what happens in the event of an avalanche of people overrunning you. I believe there needs to be something in place to teach people what to do. Don't y'all agree? People need to be aware of a different sense of protocol because, if you're thinking, well, I'm going to get close to the ground, well, all these people are falling on you. They're just crushing you.
Let's begin with our newest reporter, Rilwan Balagan, who is live at Energy Park with more details on what happened. Rilwan, what can you tell us?
Good morning. It's a tragic situation here. 8 people confirmed dead, 17.
Felt like it kept getting worse, as we got the full scope of what was happening, what had happened, hearing, firsthand accounts of people who were just terrified.
Last night, you could see 3 and 4 ambulances leaving, 3 and 4 going in, and it was that way for a while.
So we kind of camped out there for the latest information. We were getting details that they were being rolled out then and there by city officials.
Last night was tragic on many different levels.
Around 7 or 8 o'clock, people started showing up to the festival grounds, really just trying to get the items they left behind. So for many of them, I was the first person who told them that people were killed here. I won't ever forget doing an interview with a young lady, told her that
X amount of people, these people died, and the shock in her face. When did you all understand or learn that this became fatal with 8 people dead?
I mean, didn't know 8 people died.
Immediately, she thought just a number of people were injured until I told her people were killed here, and her mood changed immediately.
Pray for these families. I think that that's very important. Everybody in our city pray for these families.
They started talking to us about the victims, the ages.
I mean, 8 people, that's quite a bit. I mean, but that's not counting all the people that were injured. You know what I mean? They might not have lost their lives, but they were injured. In the Netflix documentary, they're talking about an individual that is carried over the barrier and they're literally deceased. They're having to do chest compressions, CPR on this person, sternum massages, whatever, to bring him back to life, and he lives. But he was clinically dead as they were bringing him over the barriers. I can't even imagine looking and seeing somebody deceased being carried across the barrier. Yeah, they were screaming. They were screaming, "Stop the show, stop the show, stop the show." And nobody listened. You're right.
And that's when it really hit you, when you started realizing that there was children in there as young as 9 years old who was there to see the concert with his father, and then ended up passing away in the hospital.
Yeah, 9-year-old got trampled and killed. 9 years old. There's no way that I would take a 9-year-old unless they were 6'5", 225 pounds. You know what I mean? Like, it's hard to be in those environments when you're little. I mean, it really is. It's hard to be in those environments when you're a bigger person. There's really no right or wrong answer to this. Once this starts going, you're not stopping it. Thank you guys so much for being here tonight with me. I appreciate it.
It could have been me, it could have been anyone that we were with, and it could have been someone that was close to us. How could that even happen?
It's just sad. It shouldn't happen. It shouldn't happen.
Like a cloud is over Houston.
I just want to hug them and try to take their pain away, but, can't.
There are about 200,000 words in the English language, and I don't think any of those 200,000 words comes close. They all feel hollow compared to the purity of Barthy's soul.
We're grieving, we're in pain. We want you guys to know our brother was the most amazing person ever.
Tonight. I mean, you go in with friends, like those friends, I think there was 4 of them. They all went in, 3 of them came out. One of the friends passed away. That's just tragic. That is tragic.
22 buildings in Memorial City illuminated in pink in honor of Astroworld Festival victim Madison Dubinsky. The death toll from last week's Astroworld Festival has risen to 10.
We all can take away from young Ezra is that sometimes we just got to lean in. Lean into the to who's ever showing you love.
According to family, little Ezra was on his father's shoulder during the show, but was trampled along with his dad when his father collapsed due to the crowd surge.
Like I said, you can be as strong as you think that you are, but you're not going to fight against that crowd surge. That surge is vicious, man. And then if you get close to the mosh pit, it's a wrap. It's a wrap. I quit going to those things when I was young. The mosh pit, man.
No parent, no friend, no sibling should see their loved one off to a concert by a world-renowned artist and not be able to expect them to come home safely.
My son was there with 3 of his friends, and I'm just glad they had no idea how bad it was until they got home and saw the news coverage.
This is a very, very active investigation, and we'll probably be at it for quite some time.
I mean, it just seems like the world has gotten so condensed where if you have young kids, even going to this concert, I don't know how you could relax enough to think, okay, well, hopefully they make it back. Hopefully everybody that went, everybody I dropped off, makes it back. Because nothing is guaranteed anymore. I agree with you, Kim. I totally agree with that statement 100%. I blame the concert organizers and the venue. Yeah, they had too many people. What I saw was Travis Scott's stage hadn't been used all day. So everybody was at other stages, and then it was time for Travis to come on. So everybody filtered in masses. So that didn't give it time to really pack in slowly. There's a difference between packing in an area slowly and just, it's almost like turning the water spigot on from slow to extreme high. You know, it's going to run over. You know what I mean? It's just terrible, man. I don't know.
We're working to figure out which entity can do that investigation because there's so many different players.
That situation is probably enough to initiate a criminal investigation to determine whether or not their deaths were something more than simple negligence.
So, my job as a chief of police is to make sure that we find out what happened. We will treat it as an investigation because we don't know.
We're talking to witnesses. We're talking to people from Live Nation. Who was monitoring the crowd? What their responsibility? Where were they positioned?
It's an unspeakable tragedy. I know that it's hard for people to move on from this without answers, so we're committed.
We're many, many months past this. I think we still don't have the answers as to who was in charge, really who's in charge, how the coordination was supposed to work.
I mean, the good thing is all those video cameras that were filming. You know, and I keep referencing the Netflix one. I do suggest that you go and watch it. It's kind of like this one, but it's a little more in depth. The thing about the cameras is that you have all those people having firsthand account of how bad it really was. As we saw some of those cameras, you know, people were crying, screaming, trying to get up.
You have a lot of people out there that have lost loved ones, 10. And then you have people that have been critically injured that are still recovering from the emotional and the mental stress on this. They want answers. And we're very limited in what we can tell the family, so they get frustrated.
Right.
My name is Greg Freeman. I'm a retired captain with the Houston Police Department. I would not see any criminal negligence or criminal liability falling out on anyone on this. And I think right now, the powers that be on the city side and the others are closing ranks. And I do believe that they're doing that.
That there were these failures. It may cost someone their job. It may cost someone their career. And so there's this wall that goes up to protect those people. And it doesn't always work in the public's interest.
We also have to factor in the civil liability that is being looked at right now from many parties, not just the concert promoters, the city of Houston, the county. There are many players in this that are involved.
Attorney Tony Busby says he plans to file a lawsuit on behalf of 35 people, including the family of 21-year-old Axel Acosta, who died Friday night.
Civil rights attorney Ben Crump says he is filing a lawsuit today on behalf of more than 90 plaintiffs who attended Astroworld Festival a week ago today.
This was needless, was unnecessary, and could have easily been prevented.
The money that's involved that is going to be looked at, that's going to be, how do you put a price on somebody's life that died from being crushed to death at a concert? I mean, if that was my child, what amount will make that better for me? There's no amount that you can give me.
We're trying to make things change
in this type of events. Because it could, today is me. I lost my son. It could be you, it could be you.
The Shahani family wants justice, have filed a lawsuit demanding it because they...
I mean, there is no amount of money that could bring their children back or their loved ones who lost loved ones at this concert. There's no amount of money. And that's why when people say, you know, in these other cases, people are getting sued for money, what's money going to do? When you lose somebody, you lose somebody. That money's not going to replace anything. It's not going to fill that hole in your heart. You've lost someone to tragedy.
Say what happened shouldn't have.
She was like an angel for us.
Nobody should ever die from going to a concert. So this lawsuit is not just about getting justice for them, but it's about making sure that the promoters and the organizers know that you cannot allow this to ever happen in the future.
Travis Scott obviously is very closely tied to this city. And I'm certainly not saying that he's liable in any sense, but people are going to be looking at him to see whether or not there was any negligence on his part for what he was doing and why the concert wasn't stopped earlier.
You know, I think anyone that is the headliner, that is up on that stage, that brings people together, brings 50,000 people together, is
I mean, look at that crowd.
going to be devastated.
You can't
when this
really
happens,
see.
and you're going to.
Okay. Look at all those people. And that's just a little bit of them. There's 50,000 people packed into both sides of this, all the way around. Look at there's smoke. There's all kinds of stuff. You already have trouble breathing. There's these hot ass lights. If you're at the front, you're sweating your balls off. Excuse my language, but it's hot up there. It is hot. That's why I never recommend anybody to go to the front unless it's an oldies concert where there's not a lot of people and you're not going to get all that lighting, all that smoke, all the pyro, all that, because there's no way I would be up there at the front. I mean, even country concerts these days are hard to attend because, man, there's so much pyrotechnics and everything that goes along, all the smoke and all the show. It's not the entertainer's fault. They're trying to give a good show. I understand that. I get that 150%. But look at all these people, man. They should have thought this out a little better. They should have made more barricades, so many people in one area. I don't know if that would have helped. These people seem to be wanting to not follow any kind of guidelines that day.
To feel like, you know, was there anything I could have done different? And I'm sure he's asking himself those questions.
I mean, I'm honestly just devastated, and I could never imagine anything like this just happening.
Yes, it was. Yeah.
I'm gonna do everything I can to keep you guys updated and just keep you guys informed on what's going on. I love you all.
So many people are pointing fingers at Travis and others without knowing really the facts.
What finger pointing and inconsistency are you referring to specifically?
Just a day after the mayor and the police chief, as I understand it, said that, you know what, if the plug had been pulled earlier on this show, there could have been rioting.
We have to worry about riots when you have a group that's young.
Just a day later, the police chief came out and said, you know, Travis Scott is the guy that should have pulled the plug, didn't pull the plug. He's at fault here.
The ultimate authority to end a show is with production and the entertainer, okay? And that should be through communication with public safety officials.
When Travis knew something.
I mean, passing the buck is not going to help. You know, it's not going to bring those people back. It's not going to change anything. But somewhere, somehow, you got to get to the bottom of this so that it doesn't happen at other venues.
What was going on, he would stop and make sure that somebody was helped. But as far as knowing the magnitude, knowing that something was happening that could ultimately lead to the death of now 9 people, certainly he didn't know any of that.
I don't know if you can only blame one person for that amount of people getting hurt.
To me, I think the entertainers on the stage, they had the microphone.
I think the responsibility fell on the company that the organizers that organized the concert.
City of Houston, they didn't do nothing. They were outside the gates, and they didn't come in until after.
It wasn't anything anyone expected. It didn't come from bad intention. It was just simply it was the worst case scenario planning wise. Every bad thing that could have happened to make that tragedy happened.
What I've just been trying to, get to the bottom of is just what happened here.
The best thing for him to do is shut up.
He comes across as empathetic and, there for the families in one breath, but then turns around and denies all responsibility and acts like he doesn't know anything about it.
Said in March 2022, the Harris County judge overseeing the massive civil case issued a gag order, preventing attorneys from talking to the media other than factual court proceedings. Since KPRC 2 investigates reached out to Travis Scott, Live Nation, and the attorneys representing the families of the 10 people killed, but none would comment.
The festival itself was done by Travis Scott. You had Live Nation. You had members of the city of Houston itself. You had the county. You had those that helped put together the festival that were subcontractors, the security firms.
The $1 million question is, who is in charge? Who has jurisdiction? Who's issuing the permits? Who has the oversight?
It depends on who you talk to, you get a different answer.
There hasn't been a definitive ruling because no one wants to take ownership on this.
And that's been a big fear of a lot of people who are involved in this industry and are watching this from the outside, that we'll have these 10 deaths. Most of the cases will settle, maybe some will go to trial, but then we'll get no resolution as to what changes may be made or what changes may be required or what changes were prompted because of this wave of lawsuits, because all the settlements are confidential, at least to this point.
What I heard, what he experienced, I was just in disbelief. Could not believe.
See, he was one of the guys that climbed up on the camera area, and he was telling this guy, "Stop the concert! People are dying! Stop the concert!" And this guy was trying to get him off the platform. He wasn't doing anything.
Believe it, what had happened to him. I know my son. He shut down for a little while. He didn't want to go to school. He gave up. He had no desire. I pray to God that it ends one day where he can be set free of it. Hi, I'm Victor Cruz.
I'm Diana Cruz.
We are Aiden Cruz's parents.
I don't want to say we were infuriated. We were upset. But anger is not going to help anyone at this point. It's about, what do we do now? What do we do going forward? It's not going to help Aiden deal with this emotionally and mentally. So my stand is that we forgive those people that did this thing. We also want to help them accountable to do something good about it, to make some changes.
Because if it's not, it's just all these people died in vain. They didn't do nothing for it. It's somebody has to be held accountable.
When you go back to, okay, well, who should have done this, or
everyone's pointing the finger at everybody else.
Have any of the requisites changed for the city as a result of what took place with Astroworld for large events?
There's always room for improvement and tweaking. We're looking.
But have any changed since?
Changed significantly, I would say. know.
It is important to remember Astroworld was not on city property. It was city public safety that had to step in at the last moment, but that is not city property, and that was not a, so again, it's.
But the city had a hand in coordinating that event, council member, and I think that's what a lot of people are requiring about that. The city has a hand.
Again, this is about looking at all the different opportunities, and we have a bite at the apple here where we can focus on what the city can control, and that's making sure that there are enough eyes and a proper plan in place.
Doesn't it sound like everybody just slinging responsibility at somebody else? Nobody wants to take accountability. Like she just said, that wasn't city property. Okay, then who was in control of that property? Who should have been overseeing that everything was done correctly?
Place ahead of time so that it's not a strain on safety.
That's good.
So if it was your child, would you be upset? Chat, would you be upset? Would you want answers? Because I think the rest of it is mostly just that passing the buck. Just passing the buck. I mean, it infuriates me. I don't know how you feel about it, but it infuriates me to think that you could be at a concert, even not even from that city. Because there's a lot of people that go from the small town areas to these bigger cities to go to these concerts, and they're putting their lives in the hands of the people that are there, taking the tickets, selling the merchandise, running the concert, walking the parking lot, all these things. It is tragic because, like, I went to a concert, not a concert, it was a football game. It was a football game. And the football game ended probably about 4:30, 5 o'clock. We had been sitting in the hot sun for probably 3 hours. Probably about 3 hours. So we called Uber, and it's getting dark at this point. We're heading through the fair, and we're trying to find where the Uber picks up, because they always have different locations where they'll pick you up. We're trying to find it. We're looking. Hours go by. We can't find Uber. We're calling them. We're doing all this stuff, and we still cannot get in touch with Uber. We finally make it to the outer gate at 10:30 at night. I've already called a friend of mine to come pick us up, him and his wife. We're dehydrated. We're hungry. We haven't had anything to drink in hours. And we're walking around the streets looking for the Uber driver. It is frustrating, to say the least. And if you've ever been to a concert or to a live event like this, Uber makes you walk in most places. I don't know how it is in your area, but if you do it in Dallas-Fort Worth, they make your ass walk. I've only attended one concert where actually it was set up methodically where you could go and find your Uber driver and take off in sequence. Other than that, it's always trying to find your ride is terrible. So you don't want to take your own vehicle down there because, things get broken into, your car gets ran into, all this stuff. So most of the time we've ever taken an Uber. It's trash. It is trash. And I just hope that, by me showing this, just kind of gives you a little bit more insight, not to be scared to live in this world, but to be more mindful of your children, your grandchildren, your nieces, your nephews, or even yourself. That not everything that used to be looked at as safety from other people's perspective, it's gotten where they don't care about your safety, all they care about their own safety. And that's a sad point to be in this world. So if you're attending any concert this summer, be very mindful. If you're going to the beach, you're going to the mountains, you're going to any area that unfamiliar to you, I suggest that you make a plan of action where you can have an exit and everybody that you're with understands their role and how to get to safety. You know, um, you're right, Rondi. I'm going on vacation at the end of July. The people I'm going with, we've already started talking about escape routes. We've already talked about the safety factor, walking together, and they're older. You know, there is no age limit for these things to end in tragedy. So don't think just because you're older, you think that, well, I've been here a while, ain't nothing bad going to happen to me. Well, I understand that because I feel that way too. But you're underestimating the youth of today's generation. They don't care about life whatsoever, most of them. As you saw in that video, they will run over you, they'll run over barricades, they'll jump over merchandise counters, they'll do all this stuff. And that saddens me because that's in Texas, that's in Houston. I've never seen it that bad when I went to Dallas. But Houston, I've never been to a concert in Houston, so I can't talk about that because I've never seen a concert there, so I don't know how rowdy it gets. But I hope that you enjoyed this. I hope that you got a little something out of it. Not trying to just bring up tragedy, but also awareness and understanding, and to allow you to be mindful of your surroundings everywhere you go. And I hope you all have a wonderful evening. Maestro, cue that music.